Hey guys, today's February 18th. That means we're in Acts chapter 18. I didn't plan this really well. I'm in a hotel room full of boys at Super Start in Tulsa, but we'll try to get through this without craziness happening behind me. Anyways, when you get into Acts chapter 18, we see that Paul has now left Athens and he's heading to Corinth. And what's different about Corinth is he's going there alone, and he's going there without any money. And so he gets there and instantly comes on, meets two people, Aquila and Priscilla, and they're tent makers. And so he basically takes a job, kind of a bivocational pastor for a little bit, and he's working a job. And on Sabbath days, he's still going to the synagogue, and he's preaching and debating with Jews that Jesus is Lord. And so as this is going on, Silas and Timothy meet up with him, and they bring him some money. And what happens is, this is going on, he keeps going to the synagogue. And he keeps going to the synagogue, and basically everybody there gets mad at him, kind of like what happens in every city. But we see here something different must have happened, because he finally says, he kind of loses his cool a little bit, and he says, well, your blood is going to be on your head. And he says from then on, he's going to talk to the Gentiles. So he goes on, and for those of you who've been meeting with us on the Sunday night PM services, reading about Corinth, you know everything that happens. It's a very bad city, even in the pagan kind of districts. Everything that happens there is a very bad place. So he goes to the Gentile, but while he's doing this, he gets a vision from God, and God says, keep preaching. There's going to be hard times, but you're going to be safe. I'm with you. And so it says that he keeps preaching, and he's basically in Corinth for about a year and a half, leading people to Christ and starting up what we call today as the Corinth church, where later on he writes 1st and 2nd Corinthians letters to the Corinth church. So after a year and a half, he leaves. He says he goes to Ephesus, and he takes Aquila and Priscilla, these two friends he met when he went there. He goes there, but he doesn't stay there. He actually leaves Aquila and Priscilla in Ephesus, and he goes to Antioch. Antioch is home for him. He's been there a couple times, and when he goes to Antioch, it's really ending his second missionary journey. But once again, he's not there very long, and we see that he goes back to Ephesus. And with him leaving, starts really what we call today in the church is kind of his third missionary journey, and this will be his last missionary journey that Paul does. So he goes back to Ephesus, but while in Ephesus, before he gets there, there's a guy that comes. His name is Apollos, and he's preaching in the synagogues, and he's teaching, and he's doing all types of stuff. But Aquila and Priscilla, being under the discipleship of Paul, sees him and hears what he's saying, and so they pull him aside to give him a little bit more discipleship. We're not sure exactly what he's saying, but apparently it wasn't right. And so Aquila and Priscilla explains the gospel to him, explains everything, disciples him, and Apollos and Aquila and Priscilla are now reaching Ephesus very well until Paul gets there. So Paul goes there, he arrives at Ephesus, and basically he stays in Ephesus for 3 years. Now the next couple chapters we're going to see all that he does while he's in Ephesus. But a lot goes on there. But one thing that's really neat about chapter 17 is, in the middle of chapter 17, it doesn't say in Scripture. It doesn't say in the book of Acts. We have to go outside of it. But he actually writes the books that we know as 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. So while he's in Corinth and traveling around and preaching everybody, he's writing a letter to the church in Thessalonica, which he was there just a chapter or two ago. So lots of things are going on. Sometimes it's really kind of hard to keep them. You can easily Google Paul's missionary journeys, and it'll show a map of everywhere that he's been to kind of help you keep in line of all the places. But once again, he's starting with synagogues, then going to Gentiles, and moving on. And so as we read this today, our church prayer focus is be praying for our younger families in our church with kids. Many of you remember how it is. Some of you are watching this. We do have kids, but be praying for those family in particular. There, I wrote for their marriages and for the relationships to go deeper, that mommy and daddy would have better relationships to grow closer, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and spiritually. These are all what we want for our young families in our church. Also, be praying for the relationships with their kids. We all know that people, moms and dads, need better relationships with their kids, especially as culture changes and technology moves in. We all need those better relationships, including myself and Laura, and with our kids. And the last one I says, pray for them to feel like they're godly and adequate parents. As parenting, we all know we have times and we're saying, hey, are we doing this right? Have we done this? Pray for our young families that God would show up in their lives, show up in their parenting, show up in the relationships among spouses, among exes that are in those relationships, and as well as with the children. So be praying for the young families of our church that are there now, and that will be joining us as the church moves forwards and we grow. Guys, great things are happening today. Because it's the 18th, there's really only 10 more days left. So hang in there. We're almost done. So exciting. And so hopefully tomorrow night tomorrow we will come back with February 19th, where I don't have little kids' heads poking over my shoulder like they've been the whole time. Guys, God bless. We're having a great time in Superstart. See you tomorrow. God bless.